It was the late evening of January 15th, 2021. Eric, aka Mr. Honest, was waiting awake into the new day until 2 a.m. to see the new Disney Plus series called WandaVision. This was a big night for Marvel fans. It had been basically, if not the first thing since Phase 3 of the Infinity Saga, which was Spider-Man, that puts like over a year and a half between those projects and setting up the multiverse saga, a new phase and saga that would be sure to shake the foundation at Marvel. I think WandaVision was really significant for Disney and Disney Plus and Marvel. It went to show the possibility and the success of bringing one of our characters from the big screen and putting them back on our home TV and letting us learn a little bit more about how they became who they were, and how they become who they're going to become. And we get to see a beautiful, like, full story circle that we haven't really seen throughout the multiverse saga, where this show leads into the second Doctor Strange movie, and we're going to be talking about all that in the next couple of weeks. We're going to be talking about this story that starts at WandaVision and possibly ends with another series, a third series called Vision Quest. However, we are here today, not specifically, but very, honestly, close to the reason of being here, is because of Agatha Harkness. She is releasing her own show, as if she's the one doing it. I don't know, little witch's magic. You never know what she can do. She might be in full control. And where we leave her, essentially, though, in WandaVision, it's curious to see how she'll come back as a witch, and not just that, but a protagonist. Because any villain that hurts children, it's kind of hard for them to come back. But she never hurt the children. She kind of held them hostage at the end of WandaVision. This is obviously spoilers for WandaVision here, okay? This was the first show we ever covered on this podcast, and I said that already, but it's just so interesting that I'm coming back before episode 100. Let's be honest, if I'd kept going weekly up till now, we'd be like past 200 plus episodes. But I will say again, he's just stapled forever in the time of this podcast on this recording that I've been fighting a disability that I learned of over the past few years, and I'm learning how to not let it define me and how to be my own hero. And shows like this definitely help. The Marvel Cinematic Universe helps. I advocate anyone going through like a deep depression who hasn't seen these movies, well, you might get picked up out of your hole, because that's what they do for me. And anyone needs to reach out, marvelmaniacpod@gmail.com. We're in this together, all right? I wanted to quote Steve Rogers when he said something like in the talking circle in Endgame. He's like, Thanos maybe should have taken all of us. He says a really inspiring speech. I'm not that guy. I want to be that guy. Okay, let's stop talking about myself. I'm trying to do like a 20 to 30 minute, just kind of like revisit to WandaVision. I think it had a big, significant, foundation for Phase 4. It set the table for a lot more shows. It gave Disney Plus the go-ahead on everything that they were thinking of working on, and they ran with it. Movies, shows, and hence, possibly, the reason Phase 4 is as long as it is could very well be because of the success of WandaVision. Now, I'm not one to complain on, the MCU's glory days are far behind us, or, MCU has lost its touch, this, that. I'm just not going to take that side. I'm not going to sit at that table and eat that meal. On this podcast, we're going to stay positive and hope for the best and put a little more trust in MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and Kevin Feige to steer this ship on course. They've messed up one time. And one time, unfortunately, means a couple of projects. But that's the pacing of things. And when they make these movies, these are huge budget Hollywood movies, even the shows. And I'm going to town defending Disney, something that I don't get paid to do. They're huge, they're big, they're bigger than big. But that's just me telling you that it's something that can be corrected and fixed, and I think we're already on that path. Deadpool and Wolverine being the last thing that we saw, and having that be the note we rest on for a few months, that is the kind of like rechargeability Marvel needed. But in my opinion, I wasn't as harsh on the other stuff as a lot of people were. I liked a lot of stuff that people didn't. There's one thing, I believe it was actually in Phase 5, that I didn't like, and I don't want to talk too negative about that. I maybe will do a Secret Invasion. Okay, and maybe I'll do an episode of what it could have been better, what could have, like a positive spin on that. But that's one of those things, Secret Invasion, that got me a little upset. It was my breaking point. And I didn't really have much reasoning for that to be my breaking point, because I didn't have too much disappointment leading up to that. But I did have a lot of faith in that show, and that it would show more than we were shown. And some of the big decisions in that show that they made, not so good. Where they leave it. So I don't know. That's just the first time in the Marvel Cinematic Universe history that I am like very not on board with something. But let's go back in time to the very beginning of Phase 4, where WandaVision was being released, and with every episode came a little bit more excitement, a little more fuel to the Marvel fire, and by the end of it, we're gassed up and ready to go. It's setting us on our way to Phase 4. I think there's a lot of themes WandaVision brings, and key moments. Okay, I definitely am taking notes. You could definitely tell from that line. But why does this show exist? It's a confusing show to start. It's confusing because you didn't advertise much. That's what I love about Marvel advertising, and they're kind of falling away from this a little bit. They didn't really give us too much. Like, why are they in a sitcom? So, like, the first few episodes, we as an audience don't know what's going on. Similar to Vision. We're in Vision's shoes. We don't know. We know what happened to Wanda and Vision. Like, before the series, Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame happened. Well, this just happened to Wanda. This show takes place very close to the re-snap, the Battle for Earth. So she goes to SWORD headquarters to find Vision and see if she could repair, fix, get closure on, bury. She is distraught from this experience. And some clever editing and lies by our main antagonist, Hayward. If you want to call him our antagonist, you could also call Wanda our main antagonist. In this series, she's more innocent than I'd say that she was in Doctor Strange, and the path she took in that. We'll have a whole episode to follow up on that. I'm going to do an episode on Doctor Strange 1 and all of his appearances leading up to Multiverse of Madness, and we're going to have an episode on Multiverse of Madness on its own because of how big of a movie it was. And we've been talking about all of this. WandaVision, it's a good time to kind of go back and like see that story as a whole finally. And special for me that I have seen Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I've seen it a couple times, but I haven't done an episode on it here yet, which is a crime. So there's a lot to look forward to in the future weeks. Things are always subject to change. Most likely we'll always be here on Friday. I'm not promising you an after show for every episode of Agatha All Along. However, I'm willing to give that a go. I'm going to cover the first two, and we're going to see how I feel about the show, if I can sustain 8 more weeks of that. Instead of just like one recap at the end of the season, we could talk about how it was as a whole. We'll see how the first one goes. I'm just being open and honest with you because there's been times where I've fallen off this podcast for years at a time. A year and a half to be the most, and that was recently. So, back. It's been weeks. It's been over a month since I've been back. And once you kind of get into a habit of things, it is really hard to break the habit. So don't plan on going anywhere. Sorry for, I'm going to just apologize for nothing. No, but what I was going to get insecure about was this is our WandaVision revisit. And I'm kind of revisiting where I was in a sense. It makes a lot of sense to me in this moment because WandaVision has that place in my heart of like the start of my podcast and what it did for me therapeutically just to talk on a mic about, magic and sitcoms and kind of an escape similar to Wanda's. I relate to Wanda in that disassociation and escape part of all this. She's so in love with Vision, and she has so much power that she can't control her grief. So subconsciously, in this show, we learned in the last few episodes, Wanda lets out every bit of energy she can and creates a whole world just so her and Vision can be in it safely. She creates Vision. She makes Vision out of her powers. And it makes us realize that it wasn't and really won't be the same Vision because we lose him in this show. However, he was a culmination of Wanda's memory of Vision. She, again, another play on these words I was using when the podcast, I listened back to a few of my first episodes. This show isn't WandaVision. It really is Wanda's vision. And I'm so proud of that. It's just that it literally now you could put a third meaning on that. WandaVision means the two characters. Wanda's vision means it's her show, still revolving around the two characters, and the word vision isn't even referencing Vision. It's just actually referencing her vision of a town, of a place, of a happily ever after. And another meaning for Wanda's vision is that she creates her own vision, Wanda's vision. Okay, I'm done with all the wordplay now. I'm really ready to get into this show. I always say I'm going to do a shorter episode than I am, and then I go on self-fulfilling tangents. I forgot what one guy said. My worst interview on Apple, he's like, after about 10 minutes of self-amusement, he finally starts getting into the episode of Hawkeye, which I was here for, and it was too long. And I don't want to listen to this anymore. Go ahead. Dude, I have a podcast. This is a place where I could be myself. I'm not cookie cutter. I'm not. What I've learned in the past 77 episodes is that I'm not like other podcasts and I'm not like other people. And that's what makes my podcast special to me. And if it's kind of not your beat, not your, if it's not your thing, don't even say anything. Just go. You know what I mean? You know what you're doing by putting me at a 1-star review when I'm averaging about a couple hundred views a week, still trying to get up and pick the podcast up. However, this is why I haven't caught success yet, is because I think some greater power knows I'll take too much personal offense to negative criticism. And there's so much of my podcast and episodes leading up to these series of the last few episodes. All my episodes, I'm learning, growing, changing the way I do the podcast. There was one point around when I was covering the Avengers first one where I was watching the movie and literally taking a note on every second of that movie that you would have just watched. So it's like I'm reiterating the movie to you for 2 hours. That was a learning curve. So Eric's vision, Anna's vision, is to be more concise, to have a little bit more direction, and to tell you what's going on and to keep you in the loop. And it's been kind of a soft reboot. I don't know if you noticed, I renamed all of the episodes. I put new descriptions to every one of the episodes, and every episode title has emojis in it now. I was hesitant on that choice. However, I actually really like the way it looks, and I got a little help from artificial intelligence on that. However I use that in the background on the show, I'm not going to go into tangents about it because it really is something just to help me organize my original thoughts greatly. So I like technology right now, and I think we're going to start having to talk about this episode again. I just keep going back to myself because I don't have a podcast where I talk about myself. I'm the original Marvel Maniac. One of my favorite things about this show, it's kind of like what I was going on earlier. It's one of a kind. It's multiple shows. The fact that we don't know anything about why or the reasoning that WandaVision exists when we go in, and not having those answers for 3 weeks, it takes you in. And when they change to color at the end of the second episode, That was a magical moment. I love that. And it's like, oh, we're in for a really special treat, aren't we? And throughout the series, Vision kind of becomes self-aware, and it gets weird. It gets a little weird. So where does Agatha Harkness play a role in all this? Well, all along. It was Agatha all along. Meaning that Agatha knew that Wanda showed up to this town and has magic running on autopilot. Agatha, as a witch, who we see in the second to last episode, who was casted out by the Salem witches. Literally, she's a witch cast out by witches. And they put her up, and we find out they put her up on like a stake, and they're doing enchantments, and then they're putting all their power towards her to finish her, kill her. I don't know what they're doing. But Agatha reveals to us in this moment that her secret power is like absorbing others' powers. So like as they kept trying to hurt her with their power, she was taking it all in and sucking the life force from them. That's evil, man. She's old too. You know, I never thought I'd be thinking this complex about this character. And when I ask myself, why are they making Agatha All Along? It's not something that anyone wants. Well, maybe it's something that Marvel realizes they can make into a story that we do want, and we don't even know it. I think a lot of Marvel is like that. It gives us new spins, new takes. It goes places we don't expect it to, and we didn't even know it. And that's why the movies come out really good. Really, really good. When you're watching WandaVision, you know, just like it's supposed to be, you're not really focusing on Agnes, aka Agatha. She's just in the background, playing her part. We learn through her song later when she takes Wanda into her basement, which is like a witch's cove. We learn that she's been pulling strings. She knows Wanda's on autopilot, and we see her at the scene of all these big events, like the talent show from the beginning of the show, or she says she killed Sparky, the dog that she probably gave them, I think, the kids. Man, and Agatha is an interesting character because when she gets brought back from that spell, if she does from WandaVision, Wanda puts her in a spell, makes her kind of the character she was in the town that she was portraying. And I don't know how she's going to break that. I think somewhere in the trailer, a line echoes saying, like, that witch is dead. So it may be known across, I don't know, the world, or I don't know how they find out that Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, died. Because to my knowledge, the world knows her as an Avenger. But after the Westview incident, I don't know, or it's not confirmed, if the story of what Wanda did comes to light and that she's just out there and wanted, pretty much. It's a curious question. Maybe we'll learn more about that in Agatha. You know, Agatha's going to be doing 9 episodes identical to WandaVision. WandaVision, 9 episodes. Weird amount of episodes. The fact that Agatha's doing 9 as well, it's showing us its hand in a way that it's not really in the trailers. It's telling us that we're continuing a story. This is part of a sequel, non-official, to WandaVision, and a new character's perspective in the MCU on the ground. And she's an interesting character, Agatha. Love Catherine Hahn, Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany, amazing. I had another realization aside from our talking about Agatha. Wanda, her motivations in the future lie greatly about finding her kids in the multiverse, because her kids did exist to her. There's a line later on. Wong says, "You know, your kid isn't just good to know you have a family in other universes." This Wanda, the one that becomes evil, a big part of that is, it's not that she wants kids and closes her eyes and sees them. It's that she had an experience being the mother of these 2 kids, Billy and Tommy. And I think that's easy to forget. It's kind of a good backbone reason for why she does everything she does in that movie. It's set up in here because we don't really see Wanda as a bad guy unless you're looking at like a lot of the straight facts and like, oh my God, she's taking these people hostage by the mind. They can see and think, but they're not able to control themselves. That's scary, actually. But yet it's kind of like, not like Thanos that much, but it in the same way that it humanizes her a little bit. You are on Wanda's side. And Agatha is the one who points out to Wanda that in the Darkhold, there's a whole page dedicated to her called the Scarlet Witch. You are the Scarlet Witch. And if you think about it, you're like, I know she's been the Scarlet Witch this whole time. But then you think like, oh, actually, they never called her that. So like she actually becomes her comic book self in this show to fight Agatha. The biggest episode, one of my favorites for me, was after the Agatha All Along review. I believe it was the second to last episode, and it's when we were going through Wanda's memories with Agatha. Agatha's just trying to find out where she got this extra magic to be able to take over a town, and something that she would apparently use much better than Wanda. She's pretty evil, Agatha, in this. It's another like Loki situation where how are we going to turn this character into a likable protagonist? Loki did a great job, but let's see what Agatha can do, because she did some pretty shitty things in this show. Since she was a witch, if she was a good witch, maybe she could have helped Wanda break in her delusion, and because of what Wanda was doing, hurting people, which she didn't know, Wanda was lost in her own magic. Like in the first few episodes, she, in her very subconscious, you could tell she's aware, right? Like when Vision has to pull the food out of his boss's, throat, and those serious moments where, like, and then in that moment, I'll say it again, Kitty from that 70s show, she's like, stop it, and you're like, you get these haunting moments of the reality, and it's more it appears more to you on a rewatch. I just think it was a really good choice for them to add the moment where the bomb fell on them. Like we hear about it firsthand from Wanda and Pietro in the movies, but we don't see it. And a good, really, really good moment. I just love the second to last episodes because it just explains why in very simple and beautiful ways. It's like the moment before Wanda's family dies and gets blown up. We find out that she and her whole family have a box of DVDs of shows spanning from the 60s to like the modern 2000s, and she had sitcoms, and she wanted to watch the Dick Van Dyke Show that day, and it was it's probably the closest memory to home she has, aside from being with Vision and in love with Vision. Wanda has not had it easy, and that is one thing you could say about her that could come in play in redeeming her. She is definitely a victim of a horrible circumstance. However, she's hiding in her grief. She's hiding in her pain. Her powers aren't under control. She doesn't know she's the Scarlet Witch. She knows she has powers. She is so deeply hurt and lost. It's like she needed this. And we find out in another flashback that Wanda was exposed to the Infinity Stone, and we know that's how she got her powers. However, we see it firsthand, and she sees kind of a vision in the stone when it like pops out of Loki's what's it freaking called? Loki's scepter, and it's like a moment of future prediction, not prediction, like future Wanda, like showing herself as the Scarlet Witch. And she doesn't die. She gets powers. All new to her. Scarlet Witch, once she hears it and she takes that Darkhold, she starts to learn about what she's capable of. And anyone can get lost in power. Anyone. So I still sympathize with Wanda. She defeats Agatha by kind of tricking Agatha. because Agatha locks her in a rune room, and when a witch is locked in there that wasn't the witch who made the runes, they can't use their power. So that was Agatha holding her kind of hostage, and then Agatha slowly realizes the whole hex of Wanda's vision, the barriers, each of them has a giant rune, and she tricked Agatha, and she didn't have to beat the crap out of Agatha. They had a showdown in the sky where Agatha did look like she was winning, and it was hard for Vision and the kids to watch, but no, this is Wanda's transformation into the Scarlet Witch. She pretty much guides Agatha out of the sky and puts that spell on her, and Agatha was a background player in this series up until the last 3 episodes, and her reveal of Agatha All Along. I wouldn't be surprised if they make a newer version of that song for her theme song. Agatha, she became such a fan favorite that the song was such a big moment that they decided to give her own show, and that's something we haven't seen at least a lot of here in the MCU. I'm excited to see Agatha All Along now more than I was before watching WandaVision. I think she is a very interesting character, and if you sit back and aren't expecting to see Thor or giant Avenger cameos and just expect next to nothing about a show, always go in with zero expectations so they can wow you to the best of your ability. And that's kind of what I'm going to do. I'm going to let go and watch Agatha All Along because I'm a huge fan of WandaVision and a huge fan of the character Agatha, and I can't wait to see where that goes, where that brings us. What does it do? Does it impact the MCU at all? Will she be in an Avengers movie? Will she be in Secret Wars? A lot of good questions, and we'll figure that out. Well, I want to talk about 2 things, but now that this is on my mind, when Vision forms and is being taken away from Wanda, by the way, how many times does this woman have to watch this man die? Before we kind of wrap things up, another character who was introduced to us secretly as Geraldine in the first few episodes, it ends up being Monica Rambeau, the daughter of Maria Rambeau. She appeared as a child in Captain Marvel. And Maria, her mom, was a great friend of Carol Danvers in the Air Force. This is definitely the origin story of her character, Photon. They reintroduced Monica, and they set up her transition into Photon pretty well. And I like seeing her get her powers and walking through the hex. And I think it's just really cool that something that starts here will go all the way through the movie The Marvels that just came out last year. And it's one of the few movies that you need to do your homework. You don't need to, but it's better if you do, if you know who Monica is already, and then if you know who Miss Marvel is already, Kamala, you kind of feel like it's an Avengers level type team up instead of just another Captain Marvel movie, which isn't bad. Captain Marvel's great in my opinion. So having watched so much in the current MCU, seeing where the character of Photon, aka Monica Rambeau, her mom was actually named Photon in her universe. For when she's flying, I still think she's going to take that name. Crazy post-credit scene with her, Monica, in the Marvels, and we'll talk about the Marvels on another day, so I won't spoil that for you. Watch it though. We're going to be very Doctor Strange and very Doctor Strangey the next few weeks, along with Agatha. So we're already gearing up for Halloween. I will be going back watching Werewolf by Night again around Halloween, and we'll be doing a special episode, spooky, spectacular. It'll be a good time. There's a lot to be excited for. I don't want to overstay my welcome. This episode was really about just kind of touching on the key points of WandaVision. Every episode's a sitcom. We get to know her character a little bit better. We also get to see a side to her that is redeemable. And if we can get any type of redemption to return this character to help fight for good again, please let it happen. I'd love to see it. I don't want her to be dead. Spoiler alert. I'm assuming a lot of you know what's going on. I mean, like, if you're a Marvel fan, you've probably seen freaking Doctor Strange. But it's been a while, and I was supposed to be covering all that week by week. So that's my fault if you haven't seen it. Go watch it. Go watch WandaVision. Go watch Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Get ready for Agatha, Coven of Chaos. That's what it used to be called. Now it's called, better name, Agatha All Along. She's got her little bunny. I hope he stays in the show. I forget the bunny's name, but I like the fact that she had like kind of a little bunny, and that was cute and kind of creepy but cute. Keeping this one short today. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. It is an exciting time for me to be making this podcast in my life. It's a passion of mine, and it took me to go to a couple low places to get to the one path that I know that I'm meant to be on right now, and that's right here with you, Avengers. What do you want to hear about? Do you want to talk about anything specific? You want me to talk about anything specific on the show in coming episodes? MarvelManiacPod@gmail.com. Wherever you listen to us, give us a good rating and write a review, maybe featured on the show, but better yet, you'll be freaking helping us out a lot. If you don't like us, sorry, it's not for you. Don't take my show with a 1-star review. It kind of rhymed. That might entice you to do it. However, I beg you not to. I want this to be my thing for a while. So it's going to be a slow burn. We're going to be building. We're going to be doing special episodes like we've been doing, coverage of entire heroes stories instead of just one movie. And then for big movies, we'll do one movie. For the 100th episode of Marvel Maniac, we're right on track to get there. We will be covering my all-time favorite Avengers and movie, Avengers Infinity War. We'll just have a whole episode special for at level 100, episode 100. You can tell I'm kind of losing my voice here today. It always is my pleasure talking to you. If you've stayed this long, thank you so much for being here. You are the reason I do this. If you're having fun, that's fun for me. If you're not, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm going to stop saying stuff like that. Until next week, where we will most likely be talking about Doctor Strange and everything leading up to Multiverse of Madness and his story. It's going to be a good time, so don't hesitate to click on that when it comes out. And until next time, Avengers, disassemble.